Okay, here is the deal with Ceylon Graphite. It is currently a sub $10 million company on the stock market, and it is boasting one of the purest graphite deposits I have ever seen. Above 90% total graphite content in their resource. That is insane. To give you a bit of context, that is in comparison to competitors like Nouveau Monde Graphite at 4.5% purity and with Mason Graphite at an average purity of 17%, which is already high enough to be called one of the highest in the world. So this 90% average graphite content number is insane. It's mental. And surely this figure makes Ceylon Graphite an amazing investment, right? Well, not necessarily. In fact, with the knowledge I have today and some assumptions, this company is actually a pretty shitty investment. Let me explain. But first, welcome to the 4th episode in my new series Graphite Stocks, where I hope to one day have analyzed every single graphite stock on the stock market. Today's topic is Ceylon Graphite with these ticker symbols. Let's get into it with a company overview. Like I hinted at during the intro, Ceylon Graphite is a graphite mining company. Noteworthy, they are operating from the very politically stable country Sri Lanka. On a more serious note, Sri Lanka is not really a politically stable country at this moment in time. They are suffering from a food crisis and the political situation is complex to say the least. But that is besides the point. Even aside from the political instability of the country they are operating in, Ceylon Graphite isn't that noteworthy as an investment. Ceylon has access to 4 different work sites: K1, M1, H1 and P1. Those last two, H1 and P1, are either currently being drilled or drilling is supposed to start shortly. And for the first two, K1 and M1, we do actually already have a resource estimation. K1 is the super pure resource, with about 3000 tons at an average graphite content of 90%. And M1 is the not so pure flake graphite deposit, with about 120,000 tons at an average purity of 2.8%. While the second one looks significantly bigger, if we calculate their total graphite content, we can see that they are about the same size actually. In fact, on the first 2 properties, the company in total has access to slightly more than 6,000 tons of graphite. That is, if they are able to extract all this graphite effectively, which they will not be able to do. I want to take some time to put into context how little amount of graphite this actually is. And I'll do that in 2 different ways. First, if Ceylon were to sell all this graphite, which again the company will not be able to do thanks to mining inefficiencies, it should result at maximum in $25 million in revenues. Not profits, revenues. And I am being lenient on the graphite price side of things. We could honestly expect graphite prices in the range of $2,000 to maybe $3,000 per ton, but $4,000 per ton, which I calculated with, is very unlikely. And by the way, this $25 million revenue figure is a total revenue figure, not on a yearly basis. This is the total revenue figure that this company is able to achieve from these first 2 deposits. Moreover, these first 2 deposits do not really seem to have drilling potential from here on out. I quote, "To the author's knowledge, there is no adjacent property." And this is regarding the M1 deposit. And if we compare those $25 million in revenue to the $10 million market cap the company is currently trading at, that is not really a good ratio to invest in. Okay, that was perspective number 1. Now let's compare it to Mason Graphite's deposit. You see, at this moment in time, Mason Graphite is also a very cheap graphite company at about $35 million market cap basis. But most importantly, this bad boy has access to 11 million tons of pure graphite. Not 6,000, but 11 million tons. You see the difference? Do you understand the sheer difference in chunk between Ceylon Graphite and some of these older graphite players? Sure, I have purposely painted a pretty bleak picture for Ceylon Graphite. After all, the company also does have access to H1 and P1, and those 2 might be interesting, but even if those 2 resources gave the company access to 10 times as much graphite as they have access to today, which would be a huge success and might be a stretch, well, even then, Ceylon Graphite pales in comparison to Mason Graphite, Talga Group and even Nouveau Monde Graphite. In Mason Graphite's case, its deposit is 1500 to 2000 times as large as Ceylon Graphite's resource. That, while again, the companies are trading for the same ballpark figure. Both companies are dirt cheap on the stock market, although Ceylon Graphite is the cheaper one. Of course, like we have discussed in the second episode of this Graphite Stock series, Mason Graphite is years out from production. But honestly, I still cannot understand why anyone would invest in Ceylon Graphite today. Maybe I am missing something, but their deposits just aren't really that interesting from a revenue perspective. Sure, these graphite veins are super pure, and that is for sure noteworthy, but they are also tiny. If you believe I am missing something major regarding Ceylon Graphite, please do let us all know down below in the comment section. Because right now I do not really understand why some of you are so excited about Ceylon Graphite. Of course, if you're able to change my mind on Ceylon Graphite, you can expect an amendment video reasonably soon. Also, please do let me know which graphite stocks I should cover next. Any graphite stock is up for grabs, even those which aren't necessarily a graphite mine. So drop your favorite graphite ticker symbols down below. Anyways, with that out of the way, time for a classic YouTuber disclaimer. While I am a registered financial advisor in the Netherlands, I do not have the legal capacity yet to give anyone investment advice. Therefore, this video and any other video on this YouTube channel can never be taken as financial advice. I cannot be held liable for the losses you make while trading according to my opinions. Please do your own due diligence. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Peace.